What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video today, and in this video we are doing the 57th installment of Retro Reviews. Today we're going to be reviewing my Aeroclassics 1:400 scale Ozark Airlines Douglas DC-9-10. This is the only short 9 that I have in my collection, since the type does not get a lot of representation in 1:400 scale. It's Aeroclassics, and I believe it's either like JetX or Net models that have a short 9 mold, and of course neither one of them are around anymore, so we do need someone to make a new DC-9-10 mold desperately to get to a lot of types that both manufacturers did get to and others that they didn't get to over 20 years ago. And it would be nice to get some really much desired subjects out of those releases. But as you saw there from the pin, I got this at Airliners International in Dallas in 2023. One of the many retro FSD acquisitions that I made during the convention. A lot of phenomenal grabs out of that show in my second year going. And year number 4 is around the corner, a few months away. So going to get started with the box, and you can see this is a very different box design compared to more recent Aeroclassics releases, as we have the big, bold Aeroclassics titles, a little DC-9 cutout, and then the aircraft type printed down there at the bottom left. Bottom of the box, 1:400 scale collectible model, Douglas DC-9, and then an image of the plane. On the side, we've got the adult collectible model warning and a sticker to show the model, and then you can see that's the price tag from the private vendor that I got it from, $40. Not a bad deal for one of them. And the top, same as the bottom, and then the left side has just the big Aeroclassics titles. And the back of the box, just a plain orange-ish color, and this flap does not want to close. I've tried closing it multiple times, and it just will not stay shut, and I've even, unfortunately, damaged the back of the box a little bit trying to get that to close up, and it just does not want to cooperate. So this model was released all the way back in 2001, and this model certainly has a lot of setbacks when you compare it to standards for 2025. And yeah, now saying 2025 instead of 24, since we are well into the new year at this point, almost a full month in. How crazy it is that time is already flying through this year. It's kind of crazy. But there she is, the Ozark DC-9-10 by Aeroclassics, and as I said, my only short 9 in the collection so far. Hopefully that will change a little later on. So we're going to get started with the review. Try to get that into focus there. So to start off here, up at the front we've got a little black tip on the nose, and then the anti-glare shield, cockpit windows, and then the nose gear, which you can see is just a little stud. Not too much to report on there. And then there's the L1 door right up there. Ozark titles, very tiny, and we've got a little Douglas DC-9 logo there as well. Then all your passenger windows, one little overwing door right there. And then we move to the engines. Registration is November 970 Zulu, which is the first DC-9 that was delivered to Ozark. And then you have the 3 swallows on the tail. Now on the other side of the aircraft, not too much to report on over here, just a smaller right side boarding door over here. And then there's the registration printed again on the engine. A little smudge right there, but again, this model is bought secondhand over 25 years old next year. So yeah, that's the concept of time. It just kind of gets away from you. Move on to the bottom of the aircraft, and you'll note here that there is a screw in the belly. So this is my only model that I have that has a screw in it, as opposed to the more traditional super glue to put together the model. And this was very common, and this is actually the big characteristic out of the original Gen 1 Aeroclassics from when they started out. They would always put a screw in the belly. Let me see what type of screw head it is. I think it's it's a traditional Phillips screwdriver head, so you could take a Phillips screwdriver, unscrew that, and then it would pop out. So I have to try that at some point, but I don't want to damage this thing because it's over 20 years old. So you see the stand hole there as well, along with the polished silver paint there. And then on the top of the aircraft, not too much to report on up here. Very basic, very primitive, and then also the horizontal stabilizers is a little wiggly, but it has not fallen out since I've owned this. But that is also just like a one-piece thing, which it is. It attaches right around the tail area right there. You can kind of see that seam right in that spot. It's kind of hard to focus, but it's right up there. So yeah, this is a very, very primitive, but again, consider that this thing was made back in 2001, so the standards at the time were much different compared to what they are today. And it really goes to show just how far we've come with this hobby in nearly over 25 years when you factor in the existence of Gemini jets and Dragon Wings JetX going back to like 1998, 1999 in there. So the hobby being around for over 25 years is pretty crazy for the die-cast model airplanes, and then the hobby itself of having these little miniature replica airplanes goes even further back. You look back at like mid 20th century, for instance, when there's like the larger scale toys that used to be made, and then you move into these miniature replicas for those that were a little more keen on having more precise details. The Shabak models, 1 to 600, that was a huge thing in the 80s and 90s, and then Aeroclassics, Gemini jets, Dragon Wings, they all enter the scene, and they have these really awesome 1 to 400 scale models, and takes the whole hobby by storm. And here we are, 25 years later, with a bunch of new manufacturers entering the hobby. It seems like every day there's a new one that pops up. I've heard of like probably 2 or 3 within the last few months, and certainly more are going to be coming as we move forward. But yeah, just kind of wanted to go on a little session there about the evolution of this hobby. It's definitely something I'd like to explore in certain other videos down the line, but certainly waiting for the right time to do just that. So now let's take a look at the real-life aircraft's history. This first flew back in May of 1966, and it was delivered to Ozark that same month. This aircraft did have an incident during its lifetime with Ozark. On March 27th of 1968, it was involved in a mid-air collision, flying as Flight 965 between Chicago O'Hare and St. Louis with a stopover in Peoria, Illinois. It collided with a Cessna 152 when it was landing in St. Louis. Unfortunately, the occupants of the Cessna, they were killed. The DC-9 sustained damage, but the pilots were able to land the plane safely at St. Louis. So after that, the aircraft was taken out of service to be repaired and then returned to service not long after. She then went to TWA in October of 1986 when they merged with Ozark. And this airframe was retired in 1999 and has since been scrapped. And that'll do it for this episode of Retro Reviews. With that being said, thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.